What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV. Welcome back to another episode of reacting to your comments. So we're going to take a look at the best comments over the past week. Big up to each and every one of you that keep getting involved, commenting on the channel. But let's get straight into it.
Yeah, and if you want your comment reacted to, you have to comment. And maybe going forward next week, we'll react to it. So I'm really enjoying this weekly show. The first one we're going to be looking at is Elvis and Reese Demian 6908. He says,
Bit of a mouthful of a name there.
Yeah, well, that's his name. He says he's commented on our first ever vlog on the channel. He's left a comment saying,
What, this week he did that?
Yeah. So he's saying July 24, still watching the birth of this great channel. Big up to you, Elvis.
Was that the one with We Are Tottenham TV in the car?
Yeah, we'll get a clip on that up. But yeah, that was our 4-0 win against Watford. I was driving, Grandpa's in the front. Actually, we were called One Hotspur TV back then.
Yeah, I remember that game so clearly. It was our last season at White Hart Lane, right? And it was 0-0, and I wasn't sitting in my usual seat. I was sitting in the seat next to me, and the guy that used to sit next to us, we were just having this whole conversation. He's like, "Why aren't you sitting in a normal seat? We're not scoring. Every time you sit in your normal seat, we win and we smash it." And as soon as I moved, we started to bang in the goals, and we ended up winning 4-0.
A minute later,
do you remember that?
You literally swapped seats with him, and a minute later, we scored. You're like, "Here we go, let's have it."
Delhi scored that incredible goal that day.
Yeah, it was a good win. And yeah, unbelievable how far the channel's come since then. So big up to Elvis for going all the way back. Next up, we got Philip Cowling 679. He says, left field, maybe, but Spurs should consider buying Plymouth Argyle's Morgan Whittaker. Playing in a struggling side, he scored 19 goals in 46 games and had 19 assists. Argyle values the player around 20 million with 5 million add-ons. It's muted that Sporting Lisbon is interested in doing a deal as they talent and value in the player.
I love Morgan Whittaker. I think every time I saw Morgan play last year, because I watched him quite a bit to check on Ashley Phillips and Alfie Devine and stuff like that. He's their captain. He can play on the wing. He can play up front, can play attacking midfield, young player as well. I think he can make the step up to the Premier League. I really believe that. He was their best player, hands down, last season.
Well, how many times have you seen it in recent years, not only with people like Eze and Olise, but even last season, you had Morgan Rogers from Aston Villa. He was having a great season at Middlesbrough, made the step up and actually had a brilliant end to the season with Aston Villa, didn't he? He looked like he was really at home in the Premier League. And I think there's a lot of talent in the Championship, which I think gets overlooked just because it's in a lower division. But I think the top clubs are starting to wake up to how the talent from the Championship translates into Premier League. And look, Morgan Whittaker's a good player. Him challenging Maddison in that number 10 position, I think, would be something very interesting prospect.
Yeah, but you know, he can play on the wing and up front as well, just as capable of doing those positions. Where I actually think he played more on the wing and up front than as a number 10 last season.
Did he really get 30? That's 38 goal contributions.
I mean, every time I seem to watch him play, every time he seemed to score a goal.
That's incredible if he really did. Let me see, Morgan. Well, that's incredible.
He's a very talented player, leadership ability as well.
In the Championship, it says 19 goals and 8 assists. Maybe it's all comps.
Still great numbers.
Great numbers. Obviously, 19 goals is a big.
If you look at the versatility there, that's what I say. Predominantly right wing last season.
Yeah, played on the right, but they played kind of inside. 4 players, didn't they?
I thought they changed their formation throughout the season, but a lot of the time they were playing like a 4-4-2.
Well, I think he's an interesting prospect. I'm not surprised if Tottenham were to be looking at him. He hasn't really been linked with anyone so far, but I'm sure he's going to get a move this summer with that amount of goals in the Championship.
This fella reckons he's linked to Sporting Lisbon.
Well, maybe they need a replacement for Edwards when he comes in. Paul VL2WG says 90 to 100 million for Romero. You guys are on crack, but love the optimism.
What do you think a World Cup winning? And he's not just a World Cup winning centre back. He was a star in the World Cup winning centre back. I mean, he was probably the best centre back in the World Cup on the way to Argentina winning it. He's just had his best season in the Spurs shirt, which I think he's come on leaps and bounds since joining the club. He's really kind of towed that line now between being over-aggressive and being aggressive, which I think has been brilliant. Great on the ball, great one-on-one defender. I mean, there's not really many flaws to Romero's game, to be honest. And with 3 years left on his deal, if a team like Real Madrid want him, they're going to have to pay top dollar for him.
100%. And look, the current market, you see there's players like Branthwaite, who are, Everton demanding big money for him. Guehi, Palace demanding big money for him. And Romero has proven himself at the top level. He's been playing for Tottenham for 3 years and proven himself to be one of the best defenders in the Premier League. World Cup winner, as you say. I think players of that caliber are going to be demanding that kind of figure, especially in this current market. So, for me, he's one of the most valuable centre-backs in European football right now. So, I don't think 100 million is a ridiculous fee for a player in his prime right now.
I'm just trying to look at what the biggest fee ever paid for a centre-back. Kim Min-jae was 60 million euros. Josko Gvardiol? No, sorry. Kim Min-jae was more than that. His value was 60 million. He went for 50. He went for less. And Josko Gvardiol went for 75 million euros. But Romero is like ready-made, though. Like, there's no coaching involved to get him. You know what I mean? He's ready-made, one of the best centre-backs in world football, in my opinion.
According to Transfer Market, he ranks as the ninth most expensive centre-back in the whole of the world.
Who's ahead of him?
Ahead of him, Eder Militao, Bremer from Juventus, De Ligt, Bastoni, Gabriel Magalhaes, Araujo, Ruben Diaz, and Saliba. According to this, Romero and Van der Ven rank 9 and 10.
So if we were to sell Romero for 80, 90 million, 100 million, he would be the most expensive centre-back of all time.
Correct.
Because, like I said, Gvardiol was 75. It was actually 90 million euros, and the one below that is Kim Min-jae. So centre-backs don't usually go for a massive fee, but Daniel Levy and the way he operates, he will be demanding that fee.
So if Branthwaite goes for 80 million, he becomes the most expensive of all time then?
Yeah, I don't think he will go for that much.
Maguire was 80, wasn't
he? Doesn't say that. Maguire's not on this list for some reason.
I thought it was 80 million, Maguire.
Yeah, I don't know why he's not on this list. Oh, I'm looking at only this year.
Aha.
I can't look at all years, apparently. So that's only this year then, 50 and 90 million. We need to look at all time.
Maguire probably is up there. Okay, next comment. Next comment is from John McCrea 7094 says, when Madrid come calling, most players' heads are turned. Kuti is a genuine world class, so it's only natural that top clubs want him. We have him on a long contract, so the fee would be massive. We need to sign quality in the summer window to show Kuti we match his ambitions and can challenge for honours. He is vital to our future, so no way we let him leave. Think he needs to be here next season, but his future after that will depend on our progress.
No. Scrap that. I'm just looking at the most expensive defenders of all time, and Romero is definitely worthy of being up there. Harry Maguire, 87 million euros, 78 million pounds. Gvardiol, 77 million. De Ligt, 76 million. Van Dijk, 76 million. Fofana, 74 million. Lucas Hernandez, 72 million. Ruben Diaz, 64 million. So Romero deserves to be in that company.
Definitely. And also all the circumstances surrounding any sale would also push the price up, if anything. But John says, when Madrid come calling, most players' heads get turned.
Yeah.
If they did come in with a big bid, do you think it'll be hard for Romero not to have his head turned?
100%. You got to think about it. Romero is not a Spurs boy growing up, comes from Argentina. When he did come over from Argentina, his ambition was probably to get to the pinnacle of European football. And unfortunately, that's what Real Madrid are. So when you're looking at Spurs, not even in the Champions League, just about got into the Europa League last season, I don't think Romero will be able to turn that down. I really don't.
Do you think he will be leaving Tottenham at some stage before, his career's over, when he's still in his peak?
Yeah, I do. I think he's going. I think he's going to be leaving in the next 2 years.
Next 2, regardless of what we win or whatever.
Yeah, I think even if we're a solid Champions League team and Real Madrid come calling, I think he goes.
What about if we're higher than that?
If we're challenging for the league title? It depends what stage, because how old is he now?
26.
26. So if he's like 28 and we're just about starting to challenge for the league, I do think he goes still, because I think if he sees Real Madrid as the best club in world football, I do think he will go.
I think it all depends on circumstance, but I do think, if Madrid come calling for him in a couple of years and we're still nowhere near challenging a title, I think it'll be hard.
But I think even if we are near, I think he still goes.
I think if he's near, if we are challenging for a title at that point, I think he might stay. To be honest, but
I don't think he signs another contract at Spurs.
I think there's a good chance he'll sign another contract.
I don't think he will.
It depends where we are. It depends where we are. But I think if we're matching his ambitions, I think there's no reason for him not to sign a contract. But if we're not, right now he won't sign. But in a year's time, he'll have 2 years left. Let's say we have a really great year next year and we win a cup and we finish in the top 3. I wouldn't rule it out. It
all depends if he knows if other clubs have put out feelers. Let's say Real Madrid go and sign this Euro guy and they don't need a centre back moving forward. Then that could be a case. However, if they are still looking for a centre back over the next couple of years, I think it will be hard for him to sign that contract, knowing that a club like that are interested in him.
Yeah, it all depends. The White Kirby 3973 says, I think we should sell Romero and get a fat cash injection. We have Dragoshin, Van der Ven, Phillips, Dorrington and Vuskovic coming in 2025. If we can sell Romero with an obligation, Real loans him back for us for a season and we secure some amazing attacking talent this window, we should be fine. Next season, we buy a couple of backups to Dragoshin, Van der Ven. If Phillips, Dorrington and Vuskovic can't be that, and if one of them can be sufficient backup, that saves us money to invest in a stellar midfield. This is a painful decision, but it will be necessary to facilitate our rebuild as fast as possible.
First of all, there is no situation where we sell Romero to Real Madrid and they loan him back for a year. That is not... Sell him for 100 million, but you know what? Give him back for a year.
Yeah, 1 year.
That is never happening. Literally never happening. But I do take the point that we've got a lot of good centre-backs coming through. Vuskovic looks like an absolute beast. Ashley Phillips is the one which I really believe in his talents. I mean, you're looking at the age he is. You're looking at him compared to anyone else in his age division. He just looks like a monster. And I believe he can get to top levels, but can he get there quick enough to be there over the next couple of years? I'm not sure, but I do think that we've got a lot of good centre-backs coming through, and I think we should be all right with losing Romero.
If we did sell, let's say we sold a Romero for 100 million, who would be like you? Is anyone that comes to mind who would be a pick for like someone who could potentially be as good as Romero for like 40 million or so, and then you can reinvest that extra 60 in
Radu Dragoshin.
No, I'm saying to sign. If you
I don't think we need to sign.
So if we sell Romero, you wouldn't replace him. You would just go with what we have.
Yeah, I would make Ashley Phillips the backup, and I'll promote Dragoshin as
even in this summer.
Yeah,
it's be cool. Who would I think I probably still would look to sign someone a bit more senior.
I think the progression plan is there. And first of all, I don't think we lose him this summer.
I'm not saying we do. I'm just saying, like, if we did sell him for 100 million and we were being smart and do what like Atletico Madrid do, which is sell for big and then sign a replacement for a lot less, and that replacement usually becomes better or as good or as the player they sold a lot of the time.
Do you not think Radu can be that guy?
I mean, maybe, hopefully, but obviously you need another one, wouldn't you? I wouldn't put Phillips in the first team next season. I wouldn't trust him to be back up to Dragoshin.
The way I'm looking at it is more like the season after anyway. That's why I say Ashley Phillips. So another year behind him in the Championship where he plays week in, week out. I think, how old will he be? He'll be 20 years old then. Maybe he'll need another year. Maybe he can get the Cup games and the UEFA Cup games or Champions. Well, you don't want him in the Champions League, but I do think he could be an adequate backup at the age of 20.
I'm trying to think, and I'm not sure if there's anyone in the Premier League who could who would be available for about 40 million. Maybe someone like a Conser or something like that, but I'm not sure he's a player who I think could fill Romero's boots. But it would be an interesting prospect if we were to sell for big money. What we would do with that money.
I don't think I would sign another centre back if we did that. I think Dragoshin would step up.
I think I love Dragoshin, but I don't know if he's ready to step up for Romero just yet. All right, let's go for.
I'm talking in 2 years' time, though.
I was saying this summer. I said if we sold this summer, what would I do? Maybe a Todibo. Maybe I'd go Todibo for half the price, something like that. That would be a decent
Tap sober.
Ruti 2-6085 says we must stop thinking about backups. We need two good players in each position who can compete and rotate without a huge drop in quality. Otherwise, we'll have another pile of deadwood to dispose of. Also, Abraham suffered a cruciate ligament last season and still hasn't played a full game since. Avoid. Slot is after Getruda, so that could block any chance of us getting him. Though he was at Arsenal, he was at the Arsenal game with Jimenez as a guest of the club. Yeah, that's true. So maybe that was in line of maybe us looking at him or anything. But I think he's definitely right in terms of constantly the narrative around this club is we need players as backups to the X player or that player. But we very rarely sign a player when we already have a good player in that position because we're always looking for backups rather than competition.
100 million %. And this is what I said on the Tottenham update today. I said there is no point going for backup players or players that we know that are not going to challenge the player in the first team for their position. We need players, like top teams do, that the quality does not drop. You know, look at Arsenal, for example. They signed Trossard. Look how much of a value that's had to them this season. Martinelli's had a drop-off, and he's stepped up, and he's ousted Martinelli out of that team in the last stage of the season, and it's done them the world of good. What we do is we go for players like all these rumours about like Marcus Edwards, Timo Werner that's come through the door, and also Kyle Walker-Peters. These guys are not good enough to realistically challenge the team. Maybe on the odd occasion to come in and fill in one-offs, you know, they'll do a job. But if you sign Kyle Walker-Peters, there is no chance if Destiny Udogie and Pedro Porro are fit that Kyle Walker-Peters starts. We need players that can challenge them and that can ease the burden as well.
And yeah, and I think top teams are always looking to improve. You look at Man City, you know, they win a treble, and even though Ake had a great season, they still put 70 million on the table for Gvardiol. When they're looking for a midfielder, they don't look at, okay, let's get someone who can just play backup. They go, okay, we're going to go try and get Paquetá. We're going to try and get Matthias Nunes, who was a star for Wolves. They try and get a player who, you know, they look at a player like Nunes, who's a star for Wolves, and for them, he's one of their backups, even though he's one of Wolves' best players at the time, and they signed him for 45 million. That's the kind of level we should be looking at. That's what we're competing with. But unfortunately, that isn't always the case with Tottenham, and I think us signing Werner is a classic example of that.
Yeah. For more times than not, we act like a small club, and it is very frustrating. And until we start acting like a big club, we can't be expected to challenge the big clubs.
But then the debate goes, how do we challenge the big clubs when we don't have the money in the big clubs, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, we moved into this stadium for a reason, so, I mean, we should be able to compete with them. We should be.
Well, there's one
and also, you don't...
As a nation state like Man City...
I mean, but Arsenal have been spending more than Man City have. Arsenal was spending more than Man City when they didn't even have Europe. Arsenal have been spending so much money. You're telling me we can't financially compete with Arsenal? Of course we can. Look what they've done.
They've been in their stadium a lot longer than us.
They have been in their stadium a lot longer, but their owner put a lot of money into the club over the past 3 or 4 years. They relied on a loan from the Cronkies. That's what it's come from. It's not come from mainly revenue from the stadium. Our chairman doesn't want to dip into his own pocket. That's the issue here.
All right. Bemoski 2117 says, I'm starting to believe Spurs are always scouting the Sons. Started with Emerson, Richarlison, Maddison, Johnson, Huminson. Obviously, he didn't even add him to the list. And he says, now we're looking at Goodmonson and Vanderson, and we're also linked with Edison. So are we just looking at only Sons here?
Yeah, I think he's onto something here. I think he's onto something. So maybe...
any link that has a player with a Son at the end of his name, you know we're probably going to sign him. Right?
Yeah, I'm down for that. I'm down for that. Anything with Son in it, give him to me, man. They're all class.
I definitely think I'll take it. I think he's worked out the code here and what links are true and what links are not. Stoppedup says, Bro make Lancashire a starter next season. He got physical and the talent to be the perfect Kane replacement.
Yeah, people always just want to fast track these players straight to the top, and I get it. You know, he's had a really good season for the under-21s, but you can't just say, all right, you're our starting number 9 now. He's got to earn his stripes in men's football. He hasn't played one game, 1 minute in men's football. Go to the Championship, go to a Middlesbrough, see what you can do for a season, or maybe have a recall clause in the loan deal after 6 months. And if he really is smashing it, then bring him back in January, and then you can bring him into the first team.
Yeah, he's still, what, 19, 20? Is he at the moment?
He's 19, yeah.
19, so he's still very young. I think Mary Kane at 19 wasn't that highly rated or thought of, and it took him a couple of years from then. So I think it's a big shout to get him to be a starter next season. But you have to say, physically, he definitely looks ready for men's football, that's for sure. He definitely looks more...
very broad, very physical.
Exactly, tall. Like, he looks like it's too easy for him, that level, which is why he's probably scored so many goals. So I'll be very interested to see how he does once he does competitive men's football and how he fares. But to expect him to be a starter at Tottenham next season, I mean, look, if there was a possibility of that, I'm pretty sure Ange would have given him some more time on the bench or in the first team this season, considering he's done that with Donnelly and Moore and stuff like that, and he hasn't. So clearly he still needs some developing, I think. Yeah,
absolutely. But also, do you think, because I seem to think this, that the Tottenham Academy is so underrated? Obviously, it's been poor. No, within the club, I think, well, within the fan base, I think it's very highly rated and everyone's talking about it over the past year. Obviously...
You're saying it's not rated by who?
By people outside of Tottenham. I feel like no one talks about the Tottenham Academy and Tottenham kids outside of Tottenham. And then we're all sitting here saying Tyrese Hall, the next big thing, Mikey Moore, the next big thing.
Put it this way, if Man United Academy were winning or Arsenal Academy were winning all the 21s, would we care?
No, I don't think we would care. But I mean, I look at the Arsenal Academy and I've noticed like some really good players there. They've got this guy on the right wing that's like a carbon copy of Saka with the runs he moves, with the way he runs, with his finishing ability. They've got Ethan Nwaneri as well, who's a top talent. But outside of Spurs, nobody talks about like the Mikey Moores and these kind of players. But people are actually talking about the Arsenal kids.
I mean, Pierre, I understand it, because why would they? Like, how many times have we seen kids in youth level, under 21 level, smash it, and then it's so hard to make that grade. So as much as we can get excited and be hopeful that these boys from the Tottenham Academy, and I'm super excited about what their future holds, but if you're a rival fan or a fan outside of Tottenham, there's not really a reason for you to care until they start showing they can step up. And then that's when you start look at it thinking, okay, they've got a core of young players who can maybe have a big future at us. But obviously we're excited about them, but there's no reason for, I think, other fans to, in my opinion. Yeah,
but like I said, like people do speak a lot, very highly about the Arsenal Academy and the players that they've got currently in their academy, and they've not done anything. Like this Obi guy, under 18, who seems to be going to Bayern Munich now. I mean, I've seen so much online about him and the goals he's been scoring and the number of goals that he's been scoring, and rightly so, because he's a massive, massive talent. 16 years of age. I think he scored like a record number of goals for the under-18s or something this season. Everyone's talking about him, but nobody's talking about Mikey Moore, really.
I've seen a lot of people talking about Mikey Moore.
Yeah, since even before the Euros, under-17s. I haven't seen much about
Romero was tweeting about him when he signed.
Yeah, I saw Romano speak about him, but
I've seen I'm
talking about like fans.
I think there's been a lot of fans looking at Mikey Moore.
I haven't seen it.
I've seen a lot of it. Philip Cowling 679 says, if Everton's Branthwaite is rumoured to be valued at 70 million plus add-ons, then a World Cup winning centre-back of Cooties pedigree has got to be valued at 100 million, end of.
Exactly.
And that's I think that makes our point pretty clearly. Last but not least is Crease. He says, Sim is a manager. His player potential might be high, like 15, but his ability rating would be a 2. Ndombele is a super poor man's Tarapt with no end product and not that much skill. That's a good question. Who had more of a work ethic, Tarapt or Ndombele?
These two, man, the most talented players, probably two of the most talented players to walk through the doors in our lifetime. They've got to be, in terms of pure talent. Like, they were both unbelievable. I think Tarabt, his attitude did get better as he got older. converted into some sort of CDM and was starting for Benfica week in, week out. But you just hear the stories about him under Harry Redknapp and Warnock and stuff like that for QPR.
He did have a little late renaissance in his career at Benfica.
That's what I said. Yeah, that's what I just said. So I think as he got older, his attitude did get better. So that remains to be seen with Tanguy. We don't know what's going to happen in the future, but I don't know. I don't know the answer to the question, but they're both as frustrating as hell, I'll tell you that. It was his debut, Tarab, wasn't it, when we beat West Ham 4-3 and he came on and changed the game. What a player that guy was. I was so excited when I saw him after that. And every time I was like, start Tarab, start Tarab.
The skills he was capable of. I remember there was one clip against Derby at home that always was around sometimes, and you see Anthony Gardner just like turn, like couldn't believe what he just saw. And the guy has unbelievable talent. I think that one season he had at QPR where he got Player of the Year was probably one of the best individual seasons in Championship history, I would say. But never really translated it into the Premier League, where you need to maybe step your game up a bit. But when he says Sim is a manager, his player potential might be high, like 15, but his ability rating would be a 2. I'm not sure what you're trying to say.
His what must be an 18?
Sim is a manager. His player potential might be high, like 15, but his ability rating would be a 2. I'm not sure what you're trying to say. If that's a compliment or
maybe because you work so hard, you're so gritty on the pitch. Then you can actually become a good player, but you don't actually have the technical ability.
So potential.
You've got no talent. You just work hard.
But why would my potential be a 15 then? Wouldn't that be on talent? But ability would be a 2. I don't know what he's trying to say. I don't know. If anyone can decipher what he's trying to say, I'll be much appreciative. Maybe Chris can comment on this video, explain yourself. But yeah, that's it.
Oh, those are the comments that we did react to this week. Get your comments in, and we will pick out the best ones next week. But thank you everyone for joining us today. Like, subscribe, and comment. And as always, come on, you Spurs.